So many things has been hovering across the sky, or in this case, almost towards the moon, but I digress. I'm guessing they might be a little bit busy around here today or something like that, so you know. Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Mario here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario Odyssey for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we actually did manage to explore for a little bit in the forms of, you know, the Mushroom Kingdom, and we managed to able to gather quite a few power moons on that specific kingdom, but yet again, I will gonna go back into that specific kingdom when we're able to actually focusing on the forms of other kingdoms first. So, yeah, that's as far as I'm concerned with this, because today in this episode is the fact that we are about to be, heading back to the forms of the Cap Kingdom now, because even then though, now we can able to do some more things due to the forms of more power moons for its disposal, and eventually we'll able to actually, not only do we get ourselves by the forms of, we still only got ourselves 4 regional coins left, but also by the forms of how the fact that I'm presuming that we almost wrap things up with the forms of Cap Kingdom, and once that's been done, then we can able to move on to the next kingdom to able to complete everything, and that will have to be Cascade Kingdom. So I might as well go those in a chronological order. So even then though, that maybe seems the case there. So even then though, if you actually listen very carefully for a second there, I believe we got ourselves another music that you can able to unlock. And I can assuming that's a Japanese version of Escape of the forms of Honey Long Range, which I could assuming that's how this will go. And before we get into this, however, though, we got Princess Peach and Tiara over there, which I don't know why they're doing there. Oh, Mario, glad to see you're still traveling. Tiara and I have decided to take a trip around the world. It'll be nice I see all of these places we visit before, but in our own terms. Okay then, seems interesting. Tiara told me she just loves how the ships at home looks like hats. It seems likely it's just breathtaking. The people were very generous. I was giving a power moon, but you can take it. Apologize by the forms of the lack of dialogue, just because of how the fact that, well, I couldn't read the actual small text properly, so even then I must admit though, right away, yeah. So, just wondering if it's true, if there's gonna be dinosaurs, so I'm assuming that the next location that Peach and Tiara is gonna be exploring, it will have to be the Cascade Kingdom next, so even then though, but again, I'll do that in the forms of a later episode, well, in this case to be more accurately the next episode, well, not right now though, because, or even none though, we still got a plethora of time to be able to actually get the game done and all that stuff, but either way though, that's, yeah. So for now on though, let's just go ahead and get ourselves into the forms of that specific, weird object here. But before we do that, I need to go right on top of that specific tower by the forms of the Top Hat Tower. Then we could able to actually just to go ahead and do some more missions, thanks to the forms of how the fact that, in addition with the forms of actually access to Luigi in this game, or in this specifically a non-playable Luigi, but in addition to that, we also got ourselves our new types of minigames that we can able to actually just to deal with. Like, for instance, we can now able to do a Koopa race, you know, just like the Koopa the Quick in the forms of Super Mario 64 / Super Mario 64 DS. Except that we're actually going to be face off against with 4 Koopa Troopers this time around though, so anyways though, Cap Kingdom Regular Cup. So, I believe we have to do this twice throughout the majority of the forms of Koopa Free Running, that's what the minigame is actually called. So, basically all we have to do is basically we need to reach ourselves all the way to the very end of the actual course. So, again, very simple, self-explanatory. It's specifically by the forms of the Regular Cup, but when we get to later on, that, I'm considering it's actually would be a special requirement if you manage to able to actually activate that special of those moon rocks as what they're known for, and we'll soon to find out is after we're able to actually claim our first place victory with the forms of Koopa Free Running. So Yeah, it's very simple though, and it took me about like under 35 seconds and all that stuff, so yeah, not too bad. And then once you claim first place, then obviously you get yourselves a power moon in the process. So there you go then. But again, I don't have to worry about the forms of able to actually keep on traveling towards most of the actual kingdoms this time around, because either way though, I can just simply explore those kingdoms as much as I want by, simply just collecting the majority of the power moons now. So even then though, I would appreciate about that kind of stuff. So even then though, that way it could make the actual traversing through stuff way more easier as it should. So even then though, I think that pretty much does it from there for now, up until whenever we able to actually decide to capture the Paragumba. Although before we do this, or actually, yeah, I might as well do that actually. And basically, you know this little rainbow shinery effect on there that we can able to actually just to see what that specific moon rock can do. But even then though, that as you can tell, that it starts glowing. And in order to actually activate that specific object though, is that you can either throw Cappy or you can able to ground pound. So it's a bit like how he did whenever you these things does remind me of the forms of the goddess cubes from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, except the fact that you don't take a sword with you. So even then though, one is essentially noticeable a Skyward Strike as a technique, which actually requires that if you manage to do with the goddess cube chests and all that stuff, which, either way, it does remind me of that. So many power moons popped out. That rock must have been fallen from the moon. Alrighty then. So in addition with the forms of if you simply activate those moon rocks, that way, as you can see on the map, the actual, not only by the forms of the actual markings can able to actually keep in track of where the power moons is, this means how the fact that I believe we actually get ourselves 14 more of those power moons for this particular kingdom. So this means there's going to be a lot of replay value to this point, especially noticeable when we get to the much more bigger kingdoms, specifically by the forms of Sand Kingdom and the New Donk City, or in this case Metro Kingdom as I like to call it, and especially noticeable by the forms of Bowser Kingdom and the Luncheon Kingdom and Seaside Kingdom, and you get the idea. And I don't know why I just died right there by complete accident. I think it's probably because I so used to with the forms of speedrun tactics at this point, especially how the fact that recently Piglet has able to actually coming back into the forms of his Let's Play at the moment of Super Mario Galaxy. So even then though, that could be a little bit of a more of a thing though, so anyway. So again, not much else to really talk about for this point, folks, other than today was actually forms of the 4th of January in 2019, because if you couldn't tell right now, I actually going to be playing this game for now on 2019, as you can see on my Power Moon count now. So even then though, very appreciated by the forms of the actual main day, by the forms of the 4th of January at the moment, but again, because this is a part of the actual recording session I have done, but either way though, that was uploaded during today, so even then though, yeah. So, anyway though, a few things I just want to explain about this. Either way though, still no luck of the forms of Nintendo Direct yet, even though we keep on mentioning about that and during couple of moments time. And as far as I've heard, oh, there's actually another Power Moon right there. And you can either make your way there by simply just performing a long jump, or in this case a long jump Cappy, or Cappy long jump, and then you would able to make your way there to the Power Moon itself. So yeah, that's how it usually goes for this point. So, and I believe at this point that we've already actually unlocked ourselves by the forms of our new stage, by the forms of Dark Side. However though, there's actually this one last main level that we can able to actually unlock, but we do need to able to require 500 moons in order to actually just manage to able to access to it. So even then though, it can take me a multitude of tasking to do, especially noticeable by the forms of just pretty much collected everything. So even then, reading by the forms of regional coins and capture enemies and all that stuff, and music selection, and even especially noticeable, and don't forget costumes, because I managed to discover that before, and I managed to able to go myself my star ranking on my actual completion of Super Mario Odyssey game, and turns out that I have to purposely try to able to actually just go ahead and basically go after every single part of it though. I would might actually gonna go for 999 plus moons playthrough on this. So either way though, just for the sake of 100% completion. So because of that though, just like how it does in the previous 3D Mario games, and I'm sure many people already know this at this point, then, you know, that was our ultimate goal for these specific Let's Plays and all that, with that being set in mind. So, anyways though, let's go ahead and go and look at this little image right there, and press the capture button, and we'll save that up, and I'm thinking that might actually be located in the Moon Kingdom. So, I guess we'll come back for that for any second or two. But at the moment, right about now, we'll just have to concentrate on the forms of one kingdom at a time. So even then, that, well, just to make the actual journey experiences a little bit more simple than ever will be. So, what's that glowing part right there? But I'm guessing I'll check that out later, because I need to quickly go ahead and just hop onto this binoculars here. And what the heck is all this? Is that a taxi or something? It may look like it, but this is kind of weird, unlike the forms of how it does in any other certain ships that are usually shaped like a hat, but apparently the taxi wants to join in. So, okay, that seems pretty weird, but as soon as you're able to look at that, then the Power Moon actually appears with a very, very long distance drop until it eventually decides to land onto that specific spot, or in this case, on top of the lamppost. So, there we go, let's see what this mission says. Taxi flying through Bonitone, which I do apologize by the forms of the pronunciation errors, but either way though. Alright, so I'm presuming we've almost done with the forms of this entire kingdom so far. So aside from mission 12 and mission number 17, but we'll come back for those two when we're able to actually eventually start doing those. So, and either way though, let's just go ahead and move along. Now, in addition with some of these Power Moons, they usually manage to get ourselves way more harder to get and way more hidden at the same time. There are occasions there's actually a stone pipes that we can able to actually entering from, such as in this particular obstacle right there, or in this case for this specific obstacle course, we can either just simply stroll down the hills by simply rolling. So even then though, that does kind of reminds me of the forms of one of those sections in the forms within Pac-Man World 2, in the forms within Lava World in the third level, which I think it was actually Magma Opus, that it's kind of like that, except, well, thankfully though, you don't have to deal with the butt bounce ability, because, you know, Mario doesn't have that, besides the ground pound. So, there we go, roll on and on. Yes, absolutely. So, there's also another thing that's worth mentioning though, is the fact that recently, originally, I've decided to able to actually get myself Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64, the original cartridge, which probably consists of a much more cheaper price. But unfortunately though, I did manage to able to let Sonic order it for me, just so that I can able to actually play Paper Mario games on my own time, just for the sake of by the forms of possibilities of the Nintendo Switch installment of Paper Mario series will make it happen. So if that's been the case, then I was hoping I can able to play the original cartridge-only version of Paper Mario, but unfortunately though, it's been sold out, so that's kind of a shame. And by the way, with that specific Power Moon I've got, all you have to do is basically we need to capture the Paragoomba until you're able to scare one of those Cappy mates until you're able to actually just scare them off, and then you would able to actually go ahead and grab that Power Moon. So, and here we go with another timer challenge right there, but this time we need to nab the key, and we need to make our way ourselves back there, which, unfortunately though, by the forms of my lack of long jumping skills, I simply cannot reach it, so I have to do this the normal way, so that's fine by me, but either way though, that's just how I think it is. So, yeah, that was kind of unfortunate for me to able to actually not to get the original cartridge version of Paper Mario, but that's fine because I've already, you know, already got the game already by the forms of the Nintendo Wii's Virtual Console version ever since about a decade ago right about now. But, it's kind of a shame. I could have wished if I was going to be playing the original cartridge-only version of that game, just for the sake of how different the controls were, compared to what I'm used to with the GameCube controller, just like in Paper Mario 2000 Year as well. But other than that though, that, rather than actually getting that though, But instead, I've actually managed to order myself my next new item by it consists of a new WarioWare game, pretty much. Because the previous two new ones I've got, Buddy Forms within 2018, and those are, WarioWare Gold, the most recent one at the moment, and WarioWare Inc. Minigame Mania / Mega Party Games for the Nintendo GameCube. Just for the sake of Buddy Forms of having a WarioWare console treatment, just like WarioWare Smooth Moves for the Nintendo Wii, and well, I don't know if I'm exactly gonna get Game & Wario though, because it feels like a black sheep of the series for me, because of, well, it does have some micro games, specifically on gamer mode, but apart from that though, I wasn't really into the forms of the actual gameplay style, to be honest, because it feels remarkably different from the ones I was familiar with the WarioWare series, because the WarioWare series are still a fantastic series, but in forms of the actual micro games they actually included, which I really appreciated. And I managed to able to order myself WarioWare Twisted, because I feel like I might as well able to actually just to get that for the sake of for a complete collection of mine, and able to actually try them at the same time, by the forms of the actual WarioWare series. And I keep on dying right there, because for some reason my diving ability can get a little bit of an error sometimes. But that's okay though, because it actually respawns me back into where the checkpoint is. So that's fine though, because it's especially noticeable how the fact that, well, the game is really generous with you with the forms of not to die so many times. Although you still can die several times due to the actual some trial and error situations. Well, not so much by the forms of trial and error moments as heavenly, but still. Anyways, let's grab out to this glowing spot, which fundamentally, actually, I might rather save that for later, because I think I've actually spotted this familiar flying creature, which appears to be the actual bird. Which, yeah, amongst other with the forms of catching rabbits, now I'm not exactly a thrillish with the forms of catching those birds, but either way though, as long as you know what you're doing, you will be fine. But either way though, let's just go ahead and just capture this Paragoomba, and hopefully we can fly our way to the distance there, and if we see that actual glowing spot from the distance flying across, meaning that the actual bird actually contains the Power Moon itself. So I believe we have to do that several times in the forms of the later kingdoms, specifically by the forms of, well, you can definitely see why when we're able to actually get into the Cascade Kingdom, or Metro Kingdom, or any other kingdoms for this matter. The only kingdom you can't do the forms of, the Moon Rocks is the forms of, I would possibly say the Mushroom Kingdom, because we've already got several Power Moons by the forms of, the achievement system, and especially noticeable with the forms of, well, they usually normally have by the forms of, several other missions to deal with from their own separate thing. And, also the same applies for how it does it in, I will classify for saying by the forms of, yeah, the dark side, and especially by the forms of the final level in the game, but I won't spoil it yet. So, anyways, though, let's move on to the forms of mission number 24, and, yeah, this might be a little bit of potentials for this point right there, and, yeah, but again, I really do apologize by the forms of the lack of dialogue for this point, because of how the fact that, well, still not much else, anything new, or news updates or anything, but I'm sure enough, when it gets to the middle point of, this month, I'm sure when Nintendo Direct is about to be happening, because we haven't got the Nintendo Direct for about, still for 2 months, ever since any forms of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and, well, you get the idea with the solution. So anyway, let's go ahead and transform into ourselves our Paragoomba, as you can see there. Because in order to actually find the next Power Moon is the fact that we need to able to go through this fog. Well, I'm sure I can able to see it from the very bottom at least, which, sure enough, I would able to do that. But we need to be very careful right there, because if you're able to miss that completely, then you will fall off and you'll lose all of your coins, or lose 10 of your coins, I should say. But it doesn't matter though, because either way though, we've made it ourselves there. And let's go ahead and warp to the Top Hat Tower for a second, and able to actually gather even more Power Moons. I believe there are only 2 Power Moons at the very top of the tower, Like, there's one from down here, which we do need to get ourselves our Anglesey going until we nab it. So, under the big one's Baron. So, yeah, that's that. And, let's just say we're able to walk back into the forms of the Top Hat Tower for one last time to able to deal with the last mission that is on that location. Now, you remember by the forms of the actual, like, the Cooper free running mission that we've already done from before? Well, now we need to do it again because you know how the fact that, there are two different difficulties by the forms of the specific races now, because either way, the ones we've already done before is the forms of the regular cup, but now we are about to be doing the forms of the Masters class, or in this case the Master Cup, so even then, it makes it a little bit tough and tricky, because now we need to rely on the golden Koopa Trooper that we need to worry about, because look how insanely fast that, or in this case a good start, for the golden Koopa Trooper that he's going to be working on. I mean, usually he is by far the most toughest opponent that we can able to face off against, and even then though, sometimes it doesn't bother me that much, but either way though, sometimes whenever I just trying to able to actually just to get my speed going by the forms of the, you know, the Master class as far as I can see, sometimes my moveset has been a little bit more, well, a nickel of its old things, because either way though, sometimes I was hoping I can able to long jump, and especially with the Cappy long jump especially, but sometimes it doesn't seem to work on me sometimes, but either way though, yeah, he did beat me, so luckily though, there's actually retry options, even then though, that way you can able to restart where you left off, but thankfully though, you don't have to pay these coins to able to actually retry this part, unlike the likes of how it does it in most of these actual, like, I don't know what you would think about it, but either way though, let's just go ahead and, keep on, frick, let's try this again. Hopefully for the third time's a charm though, and hopefully I can able to actually become my championship. Well, we have to do this by the forms of several kingdoms. There are some exceptions by the forms of Dark Side, because, well, it might actually not include it with that. And, also, the same applies by the forms of Cloud Kingdom and the Ruined Kingdom, because those two kingdoms are very, very small. Well, usually very impressive by the forms of the atmosphere and all that stuff, but as far as exploration goes, it's not that particularly big with those two kingdoms and stuff like that. But for the majority of the forms of the actual kingdoms themselves, when we get into later on, then we have to do these things loads of times. To be more specifically though, I think I don't know how many times you could have to do this though, for every single kingdoms combined, but I will map that until whenever we decide, until I able to tell you guys how many times you have to do these things. So that's it for that, and let's just go ahead and go back into the forms of the ground portion of this particular kingdom, and then I believe we only got one more power moon left with the forms of the moon rock segments. Even then though, yeah, things can able to be worked out then, for almost like in every single portions of it. So even then though, yeah, I cannot believe we're actually gonna be like, almost done with the actual, like, I believe we're in the halfway point of the game for, you know, when it comes to if you really want to go for 100% completion of the game, which is very understandable, but anyways, let's go and ground pound to this shiny spot, and that way we should get the Fox surrounded, platform, or in this case, well, shredded platform, as far as I can say. So yeah, I think that's every single power moons by the forms of the power rocks, or in this case, the actual moon rock missions. So far we've only got 2 more power moons left, and especially we still got 4 regional coins left. So what I'm gonna do, guys, I have to able to briefly do a jump cut right there to able to research for myself, to able to find those the last 2 power moons, and especially noticeable with the last 4 regional coins. So meet you guys back. Okay, quick error right there, because I'm soon to realize that the last 2 power moons, mainly by the forms of the Moon Kingdom as far as I'm concerned, there's definitely one that's going to be at the forms of the Moon Kingdom for surely, and there's going to be the last, there's going to be a second last one, which we'll get to that sooner or later. But for now, let's hit in here, because if you manage to hit revisit here, Cappy tells you about something. I remember this place. I bet there might be still some more regional coins in here somewhere. Meaning that, yes, Cappy was actually very, very useful, especially noticeable if you're accidentally missing on something by the forms of regional coins, then he'll tell you exactly where the last few regional coins there are. So even then though, we actually completely done with the forms of the Cap Kingdom's regional coins. So now we can able to actually purchase the final item in the forms of the actual regional coins usage, and then that way until we get to the forms of the, the Cascade Kingdom, and especially the later kingdoms and onwards, then I can assure that we can able to actually just to complete those in during time. I don't know exactly if I was going to be able to actually complete them most of the time, but either way though, that's as far as I will also find out until whenever we revisit some of these places again. So, there we go. I believe that's every single, like, specific items in the forms of the Camp Kingdom. So yeah, good to see you, Cappy. Say, Cappy, you mentioned about the treasure a ways back. Okay. So, in this particular mission, we need to able to require some specific tasks, mainly by the forms of where the Cappy is trying to tell you where exactly what the hidden treasure was. To be honest with you guys, I'm not exactly a huge fan by the forms of like, whenever you try to think, if you think that the actual Power Moon was going to be there, like, I definitely know it's going to be somewhere around, like, let's just say here, but you have to be forced to able to deal with, like, the forms of, like, the actual Cappy's mentioning stuff, which it still feels a bit useful, but I do know exactly what I was going to be doing, but other than that, I just don't know what to expect it. So even then, I must admit though, I do apologize for that. So speaking of such, about the forms of current Let's Plays we are still doing, that we still have no sign by the forms of Daffy and Sylvester is about to be coming back into our channel, because I have no idea where those two are, because of how the fact that, well, after we did manage to finish up with Mega Man Marathon last year, even though that Sylvester was going to be coming back into the forms of Banjo-Tooie with Applejack and all that stuff, and Duffy needs to able to actually just about to be doing some other games and all that stuff, mainly by the forms of, eventually by the forms of the Mega Man Game Boy games or something like that, then I'm sure that he would able to actually just to tackle those. And, yeah, because at the same couple of days worth noting for, I have no idea where they are throughout and into today, which either way though, I know this question is kind of pointless just because, well, okay, there we go, not here. Okay, so let's try the Glasses Bridge. So, sometimes, sometimes I always get my memories, result in memory loss sometimes, especially with some missions like this, that sometimes I just do not even notice something like this. Not here. Okay, let's try the top of the actual biggest hill. Alright, so specifically, the ones that the actual bunny was actually on. Excuse me. Because I just, Alright, I remember now, it's actually right towards the moon. Okay, so, if you're able to actually notice something about the forms of, just contains coins, so it's okay, but hey, at least it's kind of helpful though. Alright, so, oh, we're close, so close. There we go! Now we got ourselves our lucky Power Moon, so, the Forgotten Treasure. So, yeah, I think that's about it in here. Well, up until for now anyway, just because, the last Power Moon that we can able to achieve from is definitely by the forms of the Moon Kingdom, because as far as the actual art hints, as far as it usually tells you to, well, we need to travel back to the forms of the Moon Kingdom, just so that we can able to actually get ourselves the final Power Moon in the forms if on, on Cap Kingdom. And once we're done with all that, then we are wrap things up with the forms of the Cap Kingdom. So even then though, as for the majority of the actual later parts throughout in this Let's Play, we'll be able to revisiting in the previous kingdoms we've already been into. Stuff like, Cascade Kingdom and the rest. And including by the forms of the dark side, but I'll save that whenever I manage to able to done revisiting the Moon Kingdom for quite a few times, but either way though, we'll get to that eventually. So, and again, thankfully though, you don't have to worry about the forms of like the actual loading times and all that stuff. Well, it simply still loads, but you can able to travel there faster now, so, The moon rock here is glowing too. Let's be sure to check that. Well, to be honest with you, Cappy, I might as well save that up after we able to done with, the revisiting of Bowser's Kingdom. So I might as well go those kingdoms in the chronological order again, but, you get the idea. So, now, with the forms of the actual hint art, if you manage to able to actually press the capture button and all that stuff, well, we need to figure out by the forms of the actual somewhat of a these particular people standing across the edge of the actual moon, and then we need to figure out for that specific point. But first, Captain Toad, you'll beat Bowser. I mean, you always do, but still, good job. Oh, I haven't been slacking off either. I found a power moon for you. So yeah, expecting that I was going to be visiting Captain Toad in the forms of the final time in the Mushroom Kingdom, but he was still there for the sake of, like, exploring through things. So, okay, so I'm presuming that, the actual person that we need to ground pound for is this particular, woman, ever since in the Lake Kingdom. But you can't ground pound it from the front, but instead you have to ground pound it from behind her. So, there we go! We actually got every single power moons we've got from the Cap Kingdom now. So even then though, that pretty much wraps things up with the Cap Kingdom. So even then though, I guess we'll be able to move on to the next couple of kingdoms now. So even then though, I don't think we can able to revisit the Cap Kingdom for the time being, up until whenever we decide to do with, the Luigi thing, which I'll get to that in the future video. So, for the time being, I'm also able to purchase every single items in the Moon Kingdom with the usage of the regional coins, because you remember by the forms of, back in the previous few parts ago, ever since the very end of 2018, that, you know, I've actually gathered every single regional coins very easily. And as a result, well, everything's purchased now. So even then though, yeah, including the space helmet and stickers and, you know, souvenirs and everything. So, oh yes, Power Moon I need to get. Although before I do that, let's just say for the next episode, I'm actually going to be wearing a Wario's costume, or in this case, Wario's suit, if you want to be more precise. So even then, I might as well able to consider doing that. So even then, let's go ahead and change that now. And let's just say in the next kingdom after this, by the forms of the Cascade Kingdom until the Sand Kingdom, I'm actually going to be purchasing the Waluigi's suit. Because, you know, I feel like for, no, I don't want to change that. I'll save that for Sand Kingdom, damn it. Oh, jeez. I think that's totally my fault for able to actually press those buttons faster, so... And I might as well purchase the Doctor suit as well, by the forms of that very iconic Dr. Mario game. So, yeah, look how much disgustingly expensive for that skeleton suit right away is that we need to able to get ourselves 9,999 coins, and that is one of those costumes I actually accidentally missed out during the likes of my own time. So even then though, that's only because I'm usually saving those coins up by specifically trying to able to actually get myself whole bunch of power moons as a result. So that's because it took me so long to able to fully completed everything when it comes to this game in particular. But anyways, let's go ahead and purchase ourselves another power moon, as far as I can tell, in the forms within the Moon Kingdom, and soon enough, rather, then we're able to actually add that to our disposal. And let's just go ahead and quickly change our cap quickly, and we should be all set. It's kind of weird to able to actually have Mario's shoes green, because I get it because they're trying to match things up by the forms of the actual Wario's model, which, at least it did help though, so, you know. Alright, so let's insert those 3 power moons for now, and let's see how much power moons we have gathered. So we've gathered about 418 power moons so far, which is pretty good, but eventually we'll get even more power moons whenever we get to the later kingdoms. Specifically, you know, as I said this countless amount of times, we'll go to the Cascade Kingdom until the next video, because I'm afraid to say for this point, folks, actually I'll save that whenever we're able to actually just discuss that once we've, you know, arrived at the Cascade Kingdom for, this might be his 3rd time revisiting this place, because of, you know, it's been a long time since I actually just managed to able to visit some of these locations. So, every time you see this actual, like, moon rock is glowing, basically Cappy will tells you the same thing. So it happens in every single kingdom. So it's one pointing out. So anyways though, I'm afraid guys we're gonna have to end things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play Super Mario Odyssey. Is that we're about to be exploring for the forms of the Cascade Kingdom, and eventually we might as well get ourselves even more power moons, and especially notable with well, the majority of the regional coins. So hopefully we might as well able to get this kingdom done before the Sand Kingdom after this. So see you guys next time. Later fellas.